In the mid-90s, Pokemon Red and Green released in Japan. These games had 151 Pokemon and 15 types. In 2000, this was expanded to 252 Pokemon and 17 types. This was all of the types that we had until 2013, with the introduction of the Fairy type coming from X and Y. But what if a ROM hack was out there that made almost everything imaginable into its own type? Introducing Pokemon Too Many Types, a mod made by Alpharad's community, which takes the bare bones of the traditional Pokemon Emerald and adds not just a few more types, but over 40, ranging from things like Magic and Angry to ridiculous things like Ohio and Stinky. This game has a completely overhauled type chart and so much more, so strap in and come along for the ride as we Nuzlocke Pokemon Too Many Types. We're going to be using the standard Hardcore Nuzlocke rule set on screen for you all now for this run. And the starter selection in this game is updated from vanilla, now carrying Chikorita, Fennekin, and Popplio. These Pokemon all have new secondary typings of Bean, Magic, and Silly. I decide on Fennekin because the Fire type matches up against an insane amount of types with a good outcome, so we push on, get our Pokedex and some Pokemon before getting to the first gym in Rustboro City, where Roxanne uses Rock and Ancient Pokemon. I start off with my Cottonee sucking off her Geodude, and Baltoy before having to switch it out to Furret and going for a Teddy Tumble. I then swing into my Whismur, who can stack Song-typed Echoed Voice on her Baltoy and be able to slap her Lileep out of commission thanks to a Fury Cutter from the Kricketune, getting us our first gym badge. We get ourselves a fishing rod in Dooford, and then I get angry at the stupid fishing mechanic from Vanilla Generation 3, which makes sense, but as a whole, it's really annoying. Nonetheless, we get our guys, including a Stinky Monkey, and go into Brawly's gym, where he specializes in, Stinky type Pokemon. As you would expect, these guys are all sweaty fighting jocks. Luckily for me though, Stinky guys are weak to fire types, so this means Braixen can kickstart this fight by taking out Mankey before the D's nuts Sork. Yep, that's a real thing. Comes in, forcing a switch to Kricketune, and then over to Roselia. From here with a pivot through Cottonee to paralyze it, and Braixen then finishes off the Mankey to get us our second badge. We're pretty early in this game, and some of the moves have given me a good chuckle. Up third comes Watson, of course, who doesn't have normal electric types, but instead has Prime type Pokemon, literally Twitch Prime. Let him cook. Watson's fight, however, isn't quite how I wanted it to go. At this point, I was only really looking at the type chart here and there, and if I knew ahead of time that Angie was good against Prime types, I would have just gone in with Thrash as I had no idea at the time. So I proceeded to swagger the Porygon and it tried to set up a hype train, which is rollout but Prime type. After a big scare on my Mightyena, I went out to Braixen, who was able to sling some missiles its way, taking it out, and Whimsicott soon after thanks to a Fire Spin. Pikachu also goes down super easily, but now Rotom comes in, and I kinda figured I was dead to a strong hit, so I switched over to my Furret and just tried going to town on it as I started getting up a hype train, all the way up to level 5, where it could take out my Furret for the first death of the run. Thankfully on the next turn, the Cricket dodges the crit, to take out the Rotom and win the battle against Twitch Prime. With that, however, comes a brand new level cap and a few new evolutions like Floatzel, who is a water, fluffy and furry type. Speaking of fluffy types, after a hike up a mountain, beating up Maxie who destroyed my wet furry, catching my own sus Republican and my own gender pony, we can go to Flannery's gym, where she has fluffy type Pokemon. However, she still retains something of a fire type affinity as well, which I mean, makes sense considering she's hot as f***. Turns out though that her little fluffy guys get sourced for the most part by Braixen's fire moves, and Gyarados slaps Flareon for a home run, getting us our very own Lava Badge. I get my very own fossil out of Mirage Tower though, thanks to us having the Go Goggles, and I get a shitty little Tyrogue in the desert below. Like dude, I could have gotten so much better things like a Sandile, but no, I just get this whiny little child. We trundle back down to Petalburg to find our dad in a fursuit. I'm just kidding, he's a furry online. He uses furry type Pokemon and leads off with Floatzel, who's actually weak to water thanks to it also being fluffy type. This is followed by Vaporeon, who goes down to a pair of min-maxed bites, bringing in Lucario, who takes big damage before hitting me with a Glomp, flinching in the process. I go to my Dracovish, who gets glomped a couple of times before killing off the furry aura, bringing in his ace Lopunny. This is a fluffy furry type which would be weak to double water if my one wasn't paralyzed. I go to my breaks and after scouting and find out that submission is smash type on a fluffy furry is super effective on my own furry, doing a touch over 50%. Thankfully though, a flame charge means that I would outspeed it on the second turn, winning the fight and escaping pretty cleanly. I then get mildly traumatized by the description of the move our dad gave us and head out to the wide ocean. Thanks to us also now having surf, we can go in a new Morville and get the Thunderbolt TM and an electric type at last before seeing a Run and Bun reference, which definitely doesn't hold anything of note that we could get to a little later. We then go up to the Weather Institute because T-Mac was there and I may have used this and taken a crit from a move that was 4 times super effective because I didn't check things. It's okay, these things happen sometimes. One rival fight later, we are in front of Winona, who has song and dance type Pokemon. Turns out though that she enjoys a furry smothering her with its entire body as breaks and chains kills like there's no tomorrow, picking up the 6th badge with absolute ease. Now though, we have a cap of 42, giving me nearly all of the final evolutions for the run, and it's not until nearly the 7th gym leader where I realised where the shiny stone could be obtained. I actually could have gotten a Roserade before Flannery, but nonetheless, I get a bunch of new Evos and finally have a chance to stare down what could be the single most ridiculously overpowered Pokemon in the game. Type Null. This guy evolves into the infamous Silvally, who in this game is what's known as the type, doubling all type modifiers. I now head over to the Moss Deep Gym where I normally would have fought Tate and Liza, but instead waiting for us is the Ohio Republican, Clay, who probably has the hardest gym fight in the game, with a double battle containing moves like Shoot, where your Pokemon gets shot by a gun type move. I'm not even kidding, this is quite literally reskinned Gigaton Hammer. But it turns out that Roserade can actually do most of the work here, with Bouffalant falling to the power of Ohio. I then proceed to basically get almost every single encounter for the rest of the run apart from a select couple and progress the story by climbing the Sky Tower, beating up evil dudes and making them regret their life choices. Now though, we can head into the final gym, where Juan is here with crabs. No, not the STD, literal crabs. Like Marchant, my favourite crab. Thanks to Delphox getting some weird buffed protect move that boosts my evasion every time a contact hits, I can actually alternate between that and attacking, whilst then actually being able to dodge almost everything that came my way, even with a focus sash attached if we did get whacked. Now though, with 8 badges, we can pick up our final encounters. Now though is the Elite Four, and I have an issue. So it turns out, I actually beat the Elite Four already, got all the way up to Wallace, saving throughout my Elite Four like a normal person, only to realise this. See that start recording button? It's supposed to say stop recording, like this. So I did what I could and cleared the champion and simply went back again. Obviously I'm a little bit overleveled now as I had already beaten the Elite Four and edged prior. Now if this was a standard hack, I probably could have gone into PK Hex and found an old save. Unfortunately, it's out of my control here as this game's not compatible, and to be honest, the only way I could have fixed this otherwise was by playing the entire run again. So let me explain why I said before that Silvally is the best Pokemon in the entire game. Silvally is a type Pokemon, which means that it has a double damage modifier from any super effective move, meaning that thanks to the memories and multi-attack, as long as you have the right memory on, you can sweep any fight with ease. As a result, this guy alone takes out the first 3 members of the Elite Four, with absolutely zero fuss. The 4th member though is literally the Imposter. He leads an Imposter Ditto, which transforms into your own lead, so I actually relearn on my Aegislash some status moves, switch out to my Latios, go for Dragon Dances, set up to +6, and sweep. Really chill. Now though is the champion fight, where Wallace here has the other Silvally. However, this one has what is known as an Emerald memory. The only other Pokemon in the game to have this type is Rayquaza. Emerald type is super effective against every single type in the game. Combining this with the type and a memory, giving it stab, means you're taking absolutely ridiculous damage from it at any given time, thanks to its only attacking move being multi-attack. I thought of a couple of different ways to deal with this, but let's go through the fight from the start, shall we? He leads with Wynaut, which is actually a reverse baby type Pokemon. This means that rather than being weak to every single typing, it actually resists every single type. And with it being a Wynaut, it has Counter, Mirror Coat and the like. So the safest way to deal with it is actually to Toxic Stall it. However, he switches out realizing that he's pointlessly stalling his own death, so he switches out to Sajinja, who just dies to a Toxic Poison. The big one is now in, so I go for Toxic to get a little bit of damage on it with my Mew, before going to my own Silvally and whacking it with a multi-attack of my own, taking it out. I was actually tempted to use Imprison here and make it flail to its death with Struggle, but I thought to go for the safer option for once. Silvally is then too powerful to be restrained by the usual laws of Pokemon and kills everything else, securing us a rather one-sided victory. To be honest, I had heard Silvally was insane on the Wallace fight, but I didn't know you could get one of your own in Safari until it was obviously in front of me. Turns out it was a little bit strong. Either way, it's another Nuzlocke beaten, and a bit of a different run, with so many different things to the norms of Pokemon games and typings. I'll admit it, I enjoyed a lot of the changes in this game, and a lot of the moves made me giggle a bit more than I'd admit. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like and consider subscribing as it helps me out a bunch and lets me know you guys want to see more of this kind of content on the channel. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.